What's up, Zoners? Today is the very first episode of a could-be 32-episode mini-series, man, hyper-focusing on each of the NFL teams, man. So 32 episodes, 32 NFL teams. Dude, the Arizona Cardinals are first alphabetically, and that's what we're going to be going over today. We're going to be looking at what makes these teams successful, dude. So right now, Kyler Murray is literally the worst NFL quarterback in the league under pressure. All right. So we're going to be hyper focusing on this offensive line, man. Also, James Conner, Trey McBride, dude, is a number one tight end in the world. So that's super important here. Also, man, the Cardinals produce the 7th most fantasy points out of any team in the NFL. So there will be players on here that you will be targeting. Okay. You got to let me know if you like this stuff because there will be more episodes, but you got to hold on for the best 7 seconds of your life. That's what she said. All right, I've got all my notes typed out. Here we go. Arizona effing Cardinals, dude. The 12th most points scored at 400. The 15th most points allowed at 379. So average on defense. We'll talk about that in a minute. Above average just by a little bit on offense. The 7th most fantasy points per game generated by offenses in 2024 at 76.9 points per game. Detroit was number 1 at 100. That is elite. But still, man, top 7 as far as fantasy points out there that you need to get a hold of on your team. And then let's look at their draft. Hayden Conner, dude, offensive guard in the 6th round of the draft. That was it as far as offense goes. They literally went all defense. I think 6 out of the 7 picks, dude. And Gannon is still the head coach there. He was the defensive coordinator for the Philadelphia Eagles. So still, man, this is a hyper focus on defense. I do not like that. Let's look at their offensive line, dude. They allowed the 11th lowest pressure rate at 39.2%. That's pretty good. That's top 3rd in the league. 18th lowest sack rate at 8.6. A lot of that's on Kyler Murray. So this offensive line has been kind of a strength over the last 3 seasons. And then this offensive line, dude, when facing 4 or fewer rushers, they allowed the 5th lowest pressure rate at 25.3% and 2nd lowest sack rate at 3.9%. That sack rate is insane. So we are chasing that. And how do we feel about the offensive line this year? Okay, they lost their offensive line coach to Dallas. He's now the offensive coordinator for Dallas. Who knows how that's going to be, dude? All starters and main backups return except for Will Hernandez. They did sign veteran Jake Curham, guard and tackle, and Royce Newman, guard. So Paris, I think it was Paris Campbell, was one of the best tackles in the league last year after he got moved over. They've got everybody returning except for one player. Their offensive line should be very similar to what it was last year. The biggest issue is losing that coach, but they have the same offensive coordinator for the last 3 years. So I'm looking at this, Kyler Murray and James Conner, to perform about the same. And as far as running for James Conner, the running back stuff, they had the 9th best running back yards before contact per rush at 1.0. So, dude, a running back wouldn't even get contacted for a full yard. Okay, James Conner. That was 9th best in the league, 11th best run block win rate, dude. So, hey, dude, the offensive line makes this team go. As far as fantasy goes, it is still together. It will still be good. So we can project these people to do very similar to what they did last year, maybe with the jump with Marvin Harrison. And then here we go. Next up, man. Start off with Kyler Murray into the positions that you're going to be drafting. All right. So quarterback 12, averaging 18.1 fantasy points per game last year, going as quarterback 9 in the 9th round. So I like drafting a quarterback in the 9th round. If you can get a running quarterback, dude, a running quarterback in the 9th round, I'm fine with that. But, dude, I'm telling you, okay, if this offensive line takes a step back at all, he's going to be so bad, you're going to be starting somebody else most of the time. So his floor is a lot lower than what you would think because of his dependence on the offensive line. Again, I gave you confidence in that offensive line, but there's still a non-zero chance they take a step back. Let's see, 20 plus fantasy points in 8 of 17 games played. Okay. So you're like, hey, man, 20 plus points in almost half of his games played. That's exactly what I want for my quarterback. I want my quarterback to be averaging at least 18 fantasy points per game. He hits that mark as well. But the problem with Kyler Murray, dude, is his floor sucks. 12 or fewer in 5 of his 17. So he literally lost you weeks, man. Only 21 passing touchdowns. That was tied for 13th most with Geno Smith. Okay. 51% completion percentage with 3 touchdowns and 7 interceptions while under pressure. 11 interceptions in total. So most of his interceptions came while he was under pressure, and he could not complete anything, dude, when he was under pressure. So He is tiny. He can't see. When he gets under pressure, he panics. He makes bad throws. That makes a lot of sense to me. The 7th most rushing attempts at 4.6 rushing attempts per game with 5 rushing TDs. So I really like to hit that 5.0 rushing attempts per game mark. He is right there. He's known as a rushing quarterback, and he will always be running the ball around the red zone. He will even extend plays and run it in. Just look at that one famous play from like 2 years ago. The 5th best completion percentage over expectation, dude, plus 2.3%. That is with him being so bad under pressure. So when he has a clean pocket, dude, he is amazing. And it just brings him back so far down when he is under pressure, dude. So plus 2.3% under over completion percentage. I was actually surprised after reading about his performance under pressure. So that is when he gets a clean pocket, he is actually very good. 20th lowest yards per pass attempt, man. So not much explosive plays down the field to Marvin Harrison Jr. Okay, we already knew that. He can't see. All right. But everything in between with the Trey McBride. Okay, so that's where you're seeing all of the depth per target, depth per pass attempt. Heading into his 3rd year with the same offensive coordinator, quarterback 9 one year, quarterback 12 another year. I have him ranked 12th, right? Behind Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy gets 20 plus points a little bit higher of a clip and runs about the same, a little bit under 5.0 per game. So that's who I kind of have Kyler Murray and Brock Purdy lumped together in rankings, with Brock Purdy being a little bit more consistent. So Kyler Murray right now, I'm kind of avoiding, but you can get him in the 9th round as a running quarterback. Again, his floor is what kills him. Next up, James Conner. I told you to draft him last year, dude. Hopefully you'll listen to me. All right. Running back 11, averaging 13.7 fantasy points per game. And I removed the 0.8 injury game in week 17. Otherwise, it kind of messes up his numbers. He was like, it changed him to like running back 14, averaging like 11 point something points. I don't like that because I like James Conner. Season ended week 17 with a knee injury that was supposed to sideline him for 4 weeks. Now we have a whole offseason. He should be fine. The 16th best strength of schedule, the 28th best playoff schedule. So he's got a terrible playoff schedule, man. He might not be on the championship squads. This team, most common players on championship teams. Now, most common players on playoff teams, I do believe that because he will get you to the playoffs. But dude, he's got to go against the linebackers over there in Houston. They were, it was a pass funnel defense over there in Atlanta. They killed the run. You can pass all you want, so they got to go against that. And then Cincinnati, surprisingly, man, does not give up a ton of points to running backs. People are throwing the ball on them as well. So terrible playoff schedule for James Conner. He is 30 years old, going as running back 20 in the 5th round. I love that, dude. He will be he's going to be a high-end running back 2, maybe even a low-end running back 1, and you're getting him as a low-end running back 2. So value for James Conner. He was on our running back value list. I love him where he's going. 70 to 80% weekly running back snap share when he's healthy. Even when they got Trey Benson, I said, don't worry about it, dude, because I was listening to the coaches. They wanted a workhorse running back in there that they could rely on. And really, Trey Benson didn't do anything. 11th highest rushing rate at 44%. So, hey, Arizona Cardinals, top 10 run block win rate, top 11 in running the ball, as far as volume. So we love that. And then going down a little bit more, 92.1 cumulative PFF rushing grade over the last 3 years. That's the 5th best in the league. So he's not getting older, dude. Tied 2nd with 32 broken tackles. 7th most forced missed tackles at 53, dude. Those are the metrics that you look at when you're looking at aging running back. So again, you're getting a value because he's older. You're getting a value because of Trey Benson, and you don't have to worry about either of those two. All right, tied for 14th most touches per game at 17.4. I wish that was higher. I really do. I wish James Conner was in the top 8 as far as the touches, but still, man. So James Conner, I'm going to be targeting him as my running back 2 going into next season. Huge target for me, huge value. And then Trey Benson real fast, man. 2 games of 10 plus carries. He did average 4.6 yards per attempt. I want to say yards per carry. I messed that up. But hey, dude, he's actually better than what you think. So I don't think they trust him in pass protection and maybe even a little bit of ball security. But as far as a pure runner goes, almost 5 yards a carry in your rookie year, that's pretty amazing. Averaging 17% snap share when he's healthy. He is a handcuff. He ended the season injured last year, but he had a whole offseason to come back. So Trey Benson, people will be drafting as a handcuff. But again, dude, if I got James Conner, I'd literally just draft James Conner and worry about other people and then pick up Trey Benson off the waiver wire like after somebody drops him in like week 4. Next up, dude, Marvin Harrison Jr. I was pushing him hard last year, and I was mistaken. I did not realize how bad Kyler Murray is throwing to a certain part of the field, okay? So wide receiver 42, averaging 11.6 fantasy points per game, and he went as a wide receiver 1. So a huge bust last year. He's going as wide receiver 19 in the 4th round right now. 4th round is where I like taking risks, but I would like to wait just a little bit longer for Marvin Harrison Jr. right now. That is too much of a risk for me in the 4th round. Again, so people think that he's going to be bouncing back huge, man, from wide receiver 42 finish all the way back to wide receiver 19. Holy crap. 9th best strength of schedule. So, hey, the schedule is there for him to succeed. The 7th blessed. I can say that too. The 7th blessed playoff schedule. Houston, 10th most fantasy points to wide receivers. Atlanta, the 5th most points to wide receivers. And then Cincinnati, dude, who their back end can't stop anybody. So I'm not afraid of them either, dude. So Marvin Harrison Jr., amazing playoff schedule, a pretty good regular schedule. He is poised to bounce back, man. But again, Kyler Murray needs to change his ways if this is going to work. Arizona generates the 16th most fantasy points per game by wide receivers at 21 points per game, dude. So they are very average when it comes to that. Most of the fantasy points come from the running backs and the tight ends. Now, when I'm looking at wide receivers, I love looking at air yards, man. I like looking at opportunities, man, and volume. This is about opportunity right here. The 4th most air yards at 1,739, dude, in the league. 42%, 43% of the team's air yards, that's the 3rd best. So this team is trying to get him involved. Kyler Murray just can't do it. Yeah, Marvin Harrison Jr. had the 12th worst catch rate at 53.4%. This is like a DK Metcalf problem for like 2 years in a row. 37th fewest red zone targets at 11. 8 receiving touchdowns on the year, dude. Tied for the 13th most. There could be regression, man. If his red zone targets stay the same, 37th fewest, only 11, I would not be surprised if there was touchdown regression for Marvin Harrison Jr., which is very scary to me. He had the 41st highest target share at 22.4% and only a 19% red zone target share. Those are all bad numbers. So his opportunity is amazing for yards. His air yards off the chart, off the chain. All right. But Kyler Murray can just not deliver the ball to him. So until I see it, I will not believe it. Again, this is like DK Metcalf and Geno Smith for like 3 years in a row, dude. It was just not happening. So Marvin Harrison Jr., dude, I am kind of avoiding right now in the 4th round. I will not be drafting him. If he hits the 6th round, I will be interested. Next up, Michael Wilson. He was on my waiver wire show for what, dude? Like 3 weeks in a row. 2nd most targets on the team at 71. 10 plus fantasy points in 6 of 15 games played last year. So if you're in like a 16 team league, maybe even more, you are looking at him as a streamer. 4 reception touchdowns and 3 in the red zone. This guy gets all the red zone targets over Marvin Harrison Jr. So Trey McBride and Michael Wilson gets the end zone work over Marvin Harrison Jr., which is crazy. But again, man, unless you're in a super deep league, Michael Wilson, who gives anything about him? He is going to be a waiver wire ad. Next up, dude, Greg Dortch. Homie, don't play that. Next up, we're going to the world's best tight end, Trey McBride. Tight end 2, averaging 15.6 fantasy points per game. He has the best strength of schedule as far as if you look at tight ends and whatever. Now, he does have to go against Houston that first week. And I do not like good linebacker play versus good tight ends. So that's going to be a pretty bad matchup in the first week of the playoffs. But other than that, man, Trey McBride set to go. The rich get richer as far as I'm concerned. 20 plus fantasy points in 5 of 17 games played. So he has what George Kittle has. He can win you weeks, dude. He's got that super high explosive nuclear upside. And unlike George Kittle, he's got a pretty damn good floor. 10 plus fantasy points in 13 of 17 games, dude. So amazing floor. He's got that nuclear upside, everything you want in tight end. And he's got the same tight end, same offensive coordinator, or same quarterback, same offensive coordinator. Whereas you're looking at Brock Bowers, knew everything. So who knows what that's going to be like. And a couple new wide receivers there, dude. So Trey McBride, man, to me, safest tight end in the draft. The highest percentage of teams' air yards for tight ends at 25.3%. So, I mean, this correlates directly to his success. Second most targets at 136. Brock Bowers was the most targeted. The highest target share at 29% out of any tight ends. 29% target share as a tight end, dude. What's up? This fool had the highest red zone target share at 35.7%. This fool only had 2 receiving touchdowns with 20 red zone targets and 8 end zone targets. So touchdown progression out of anybody in my life, dude. This guy is going to have more than 2 receiving touchdowns next season, for God's sakes, man. So Trey McBride, again, schedule, opportunity, progression. I don't know how you don't take him super early. I'm not going to do it because I'm all about the running backs and the wide receivers. I've got some late tight ends that I really do like, but man, you cannot go wrong with him. Ranked as my number 1 tight end over Bowers due to target share percentage and TD progression. So he also had 10 plus targets of 20 plus yards. So again, man, explosive. There you go. Second to last, man. Defense. So Arizona Cardinals defense, man, they blew their load on all defensive players in the draft. 1 or fewer points in 8 of 17 games played last year. Their defense scored 1 point or fewer in almost half of the games they played last year. Defensive 18 finish. They are on the waiver wire because I cannot trust a team that does that. So if I see them, I've heard from many experts that their defense is going to be much improved this year. I need to see it, dude, because they were so bad last year. Oh my God. And then the kicker, dude. What was it? The main dude got injured. Matt Prater. Chad Ryland took over for an injured Matt Prater week 4 and was kicker 8 through the rest of the season. This team sets up, dude, for good kicker play. They're not that great in the end zone. Trey McBride only caught 2 touchdowns. Marvin Harrison Jr. can't catch a touchdown if his life depended on it. Well, in the red zone at least. So all this means that there's going to be a ton of opportunities for the kickers there. 10 plus fantasy points in 7 of the 13 games played. Pick him up in the last round, but we need to make sure Matt Prater is going to be healthy to start the year. But Arizona Cardinals kicker is somebody I will be targeting in the very last round. All right, everybody, that is the show, man. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this, dude, please give me a comment down below, man. Some encouragement, dude, so I will continue to do this. But the whole idea is if there's a team that you're targeting or a team that you like, you could just watch something like this and get an idea of what all the fantasy factors and the most, fantasy relevant players that you want to target on your team, because you have a better time, man, playing for teams that you cheer for. I always, man, draft me a Minnesota Viking somewhere for pleasure, okay? So, hey, shout out to a dude named Tobias. Asked me about the Chargers, and then I got this idea. So shout out to you. Hey, we got another episode coming out. Jason's coming out with something this week. I forget what it is. And then we have our live drinking episode on Friday, man. So stick around and hang out for that, dude. We need your subscriptions, dog. We need them. I'm begging you, dude, on my knees. Red light districts. Whose S do I need a D again? But hey, this is Tyler Big Turd Ward. This is the Fantasy Red Zone, and we appreciate you.